Tuesday the 13th of May. I have been very busy filming a sit down chatty recommendation for cozy fantasy books vlog, which is why I have this full face of makeup, which is otherwise quite rare. So I am back, guys. I was away for 10 days in Northumberland with my husband, visiting his family and basically driving all over Northumberland, visiting all the castles, all the places, doing all the things. But I am going to sit down a little bit later and chat with you about that because so much to talk about, so much fun. But yes, we are back in my kitchen, which other than my office is pretty much my favourite place to spend time in this house because I love to cook and I love to bake. So why are we in the kitchen today? Because I am going to try my hand at making rye bread. So this is something I wanted to do for a while, but I didn't have the correct blade for my bread maker. When I got my bread maker, I picked it up secondhand from a lady a few sort of villages over, and she had the normal paddle, which is fine for making, you know, white bread or whole wheat bread or most other things, but rye bread, because the flour is particularly dense, it needs a different kind of blade. Luckily I was able to find it on Amazon. Let me go get it. So this is a rye blade and this is a normal one. I don't know why I keep calling it a blade. It's a paddle. It's a paddle. So yeah, you can see it is quite different from the normal one. So it was necessary to actually purchase that one from Amazon before I try my hand at making rye bread. Rye bread is typically very dense. It is not like a normal sandwich loaf, either white or brown. But it is very flavorful and it's something different. So I got some rye flour because it was on offer at Tesco. And yeah, let's give it a go. What's the worst that could happen? Hi, hello and welcome back. So this is the point where I'm going to talk all about Northumberland, our epic 10-day trip, basically driving around what felt like the entire county, but absolutely wasn't. Northumberland, by English standards, is a really big county with very few people. It is very rural in parts. Lots of villages, but tiny little villages that you drive through. But for the most part, the road is just roads that have fields either side. That's it. There are no traffic lights. You just drive on this road through a field. That's just how it felt, which is very different to how it feels driving somewhere like where we live, because even though this is a village, this is the southeast of England. Everything is very built up. There are many traffic lights. There are roads that are definitely not rural, driving through industrial estates or housing estates, all sorts. So yeah, the driving felt very rural, and I kept a check on the odometer from the car that we rented, and we basically drove 450 miles over 10 days, which was, by British driving standards, a lot of miles. Yeah, so we did not drive to Northumberland. That was never ever going to happen. I hate long drives. Hate them, hate them, hate them. We looked at taking the train. The train is obviously less hours than driving, but it was still quite a few. We ended up flying. Yeah, we took a domestic flight from Heathrow to Newcastle International because it's 1 hour and 5 minutes from Heathrow to Newcastle. So quick. And to be honest, it really didn't cost that much more than the train. So for us, given our proximity to Heathrow, it just made sense. The flight was 7:15 in the morning, and we left just a couple of hours before that because we don't live very far, and it was great. We took off, we landed, and we still had the whole day. I was not exhausted because I had not been driving for hours, or we had not had to go into London to get the train. We could just literally step off this plane, go get our hire car for the week, which was amazing, by the way. We had only requested something very small, like a Vauxhall Corsa, an Igo, just a small hatchback, because that's cheapest and we're really not bothered about the car that we drive. They gave us a Nissan Qashqai. If you're not familiar, a Nissan Qashqai is a big SUV, which is so much bigger than the car I ordinarily drive. But it was fab, and on the kind of rural roads, it really served us well. So yeah, that was great. Completely free upgrade that was many tiers above what we had paid for. So we picked up our car and we could just get on with our adventures there and then. So we had 10 days, and our aim was to do at least one visit each day. And the first day we started with Alnwick Castle. For any Harry Potter fans out there, Alnwick Castle was one of the ones used in the films, I believe, during the Quidditch match in the first one, but don't hold me to that. And it was really, really cool. There was a lot to see, a lot to do and walk around. And after that, we went to Barter Books. Barter Books is one of the biggest secondhand bookshops in the country. And as the name suggests, you can actually go in, trade books for credit, and use said credit to purchase books. Obviously, I was not there to trade books, but I did want to have a look around. It was really big, and the layout left a lot to be desired. We didn't actually find a map until quite some time into our kind of looking around. When we did, yes, it kind of highlighted the sections that we wanted to go to, but even the map, these kind of genres were a bit all over the place. But it was still fun, and I did manage to pick up one book, which was this one, Dilly Caught the Lucky Penny. And the reason that I really wanted to get a book is because they stamped them inside with this cool Barter Books stamp. Dilly Court writes historical fiction set in the Victorian period. I'm actually not a big historical fiction person. I only have a couple of authors that I will read, namely Dilly Court and Rosie Goodwin. And I'm very specific. I only like historical fiction that is set in the Victorian period. I don't like things set during World War I or World War II or earlier than the Victorian period, I guess. I specifically really like the Victorian period. I think it was such a key part of history for everything that we have today. Like, so many great things came out of that time period, and I just personally really enjoy it. So yeah, I picked up The Lucky Penny, which is book 6 in the Rockwood Chronicles, which is one of the series that she writes. Most of her books are standalone books, but the Rockwood Chronicles is a series that I have read. I actually have the book after this on my Kindle, as well. I am about halfway through it and really enjoying it thus far. So yeah, I picked that one up. My husband did not find anything that he wanted there, but it was still super fun to walk around and see. Some of the other key highlights from our trip was day 2. We went to the Farne Islands. The Farne Islands are basically just off the east coast of Northumberland, and they are a very special area of conservation, and they are most famous for being a breeding ground for puffins and also home to many other birds and seals. You have to obviously take a boat tour to get out there, and the tours only operate during the kind of peak months. They hadn't long started offering tours once we got there. It was a lot of fun. We got to go all around the Farne Islands and see different ones, and we saw lots and lots of seals all just hanging out. It was amazing. And of course, puffins. The time that we went, you were able to disembark and actually go onto the island. You're only given 1 hour to do so, but that is more than enough time. It was amazing. Puffins are so much smaller than I thought they would be. I don't know what I thought, to be honest, but they were so small and cute, and it was just, other than the smell, that was the one downside. It smelled pretty bad, as you can imagine. It's an island full of birds, but you know what? Don't care. It was absolutely worth it to see all of the wildlife there and to walk around. And the National Trust rangers who actually live on the island, which has no electricity, no running water, and they only get to go back to the mainland on their 2 days off. That's when they have to shower. That's when they have to resupply, because there is nothing. It is so basic, but these guys do an amazing job, and they know so much about the island and the species, and they do an incredible job of keeping it and conserving it so that all the birds continue to return and to lay eggs and everything like that. So yeah, Farne Islands, absolutely amazing trip, and would recommend it to anyone. You don't see anything like that anywhere else in this country that I can think of. I could be wrong, but amazing. The other, I think, standout for me was Lindisfarne, aka Holy Island, which is not exactly an island as we would think of it. Basically, to get to Lindisfarne, you have to drive down a causeway. If you don't know what a causeway is, it's basically a road that you can only access at low tide. So you have to be very careful about the times that you plan to both go and exit, because when the tide is in, you cannot cross. You will not be allowed to cross, because obviously that's a huge danger. So we obviously had to check the tidal times for both going in and coming out. And it was so cool. I've never driven on a causeway. They're not very common here, but I'll pop some footage in here so you can see just how majestic it was. So Lindisfarne, Holy Islands are most well known for being where the Vikings landed. That is their main kind of tourist type draw, and all of the kind of religious aspects that go along with that. It was a gorgeous sunny day, and I just loved walking around and seeing everything that was there. It was so much fun. It was a long walk though, I'll give you that. There is a small village on the island, and basically you have to park in a specific car park in the village and then walk. It's over a mile, so it's quite far, but again, absolutely worth it. Stunning views. The weather was amazing. Like, to get such good weather in England in May is almost unheard of. Currently it's actually doing really well, but particularly in the north, the weather is generally not as sunny and as lovely as we tend to get in the south, so we really lucked out with the weather there on Northumberland Island. Coming back, again, we got to see the causeway, and it was so cool. We went to many National Trust sites while we were in Northumberland. One, because there are so many, it is the most fortified place in the whole of Europe. And there are thus so many castles and things like that to see. We went to Wallington, we went to Belsay, we went to Dunstable, basically all of the places, because we are National Trust members and we're absolutely getting our money's worth on the membership. My husband and I have a fun little thing that every time we go somewhere like National Trust or some other kind of historic place, we always get a fridge magnet. And we have built up a collection in our time together. And here's a little clip of all the magnets that we picked up on this trip. Now, of course, no trip to Northumberland would be complete without a visit to the capital, Newcastle. This was fab. I really enjoyed this. Obviously, as a city centre, it's a lot smaller than London, which is the main place I grew up visiting because it's right here. But it was really cool. It's very hilly as city centres go, because Northumberland is just lots of hills. There were some really cool shops. It wasn't just your normal kind of high street shops that you get here in the UK. There were quite a few independent ones as well. And the favourite that I stumbled across was a shop called the Geordie Witch. If you don't know this about me, I really enjoy kind of all things kind of new agey, and in particular crystals, hence why my book is called The Lunar Quartz Library. I basically invented a crystal for the purpose of that book because I love them. I think they're pretty, and I love all of the kind of meanings and everything that goes along with them. So the chance to go to the largest crystal shop, I think, was it in the UK? It said on the book. No, it said on the back. It's like the largest crystal shop. Could not pass that opportunity up. So yeah, I got a few things. First of all, the bag is very cool. The Geordie Witch Crystal Boutique. So let's see what is inside. So first up, I got some wax melts because they were on offer, 3 for £10. Could not resist. So I got Vampire Tears, which it's got like this little undercurrent of spice, but also a lot of sweetness. It's really smells great. I also got Witch's Brew because, wow, you couldn't go somewhere called the Geordie Witch and not get something called the Witch's Brew. And finally, also got Stargazer. This one is a little more perfumey. This one is very pumpkin spice. So we've got lots of different kind of scent profiles here. If you don't know why it's called the Geordie Witch, basically Geordie is a term to describe people that come from the northeast, Northumberland. So if you're not British, you probably have no idea what that meant. So I thought I'd throw that in there. It's just a term to describe someone who comes from that geographical area. So we got wax melts. That wasn't all. Crystals. Now I have to say, I'm really bad at remembering the names of crystals. I'll see them in the shop, I'll see the names, and they often give a description of what they are used for. I'm like, oh, that sounds really nice. I get home like, I've completely forgotten what they all are. Luckily, on the receipt, it does actually say what they each are. And if it's not completely obvious by the colour, I could just go online and double check. But I have a list, so that is something. So we have, I hope this is correct, pink mica, which I thought was really, really pretty. And we have, oh, I'm doing this right, Galaxite, which kind of has like a little bit of shimmer to it. We have some other ones, jasper type stone. I liked all the markings on this one. And I think it was this one that was just called the Infinity Stone, that I thought was a really cool kind of color. So yeah, these are all the stones that I picked up. I've probably just described those all wrong, but hey ho, they're cute till they're cat, right? And of course, a trip to any UK town or city centre as a book person, a book lover even, it's not complete without a trip to Waterstones. And in there I picked up a book that I had been thinking about for a while but wasn't sure about. But when I saw it on the shelf, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get it. And it is this one, Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. This person started out being independently published. This entire series, I believe, was independently published. And then some years later, it was picked up by Orbit. And they basically redid all the designs. And I'm not going to lie, this cover really drew me in. It's this kind of retro style almost. You don't see this kind of artwork, I feel, on a lot of fantasy books now. It feels older but not dated. It just has this retro vibe to it that I really like. It is part of a series and they all kind of obviously have the same style of cover art, and it was just refreshing. Sometimes it feels like cover art trends kind of make all books look the same, like this trend with romance books at the moment with the what I call the faceless people. You have like the traditional male and female character, they don't have a face, it's not a cartoon, I don't know what the word is, but you know what I'm talking about. If you read romance, they all just kind of look the same, and a lot of romantasy at the moment is all just very dark and all looking the same. So that's fine, like I get it. Covers help us decide if we're going to like a book. We can tell a lot about a book. Like when I see a book with two faceless people on it, I know that's a romance. So in that respect, it's very handy, but it was just really refreshing to find something with a really different style of cover art, and I'm excited to get into this. This does sound pretty cozy. It involves a paladin who likes to knit. There is a bit of a more dangerous plot to it, but not gonna lie, that's largely what drew me to pick this book up. So all in all, it was a really fun 10 days away. It was very tiring though. So much walking. I have my tracker here, so every day when we got back I would kind of sync it, and we were doing anywhere between 12 and 15,000 steps a day, which is around, I think, 5, 6, 7 miles roughly. If you couldn't tell, I definitely got a bit of a tan while I was there. Ordinarily I'm pretty pale, but I definitely got a tan from all of the time spent outside. Again, not that not that common in the UK to really get a tan, but when you're outside in the sun that was as bright as it was, it's not surprising. So coming back, we were pretty tired, even though it was only a short flight. We had obviously been out that day doing things, so we were glad to get home to our own house and most notably our own bed, because who doesn't miss that when they're away? It was also having more space. We stayed in this adorable railway cottage that was just peak cute and cozy, but small, really small. Now our house is nothing large, it's a very standard 3-bed, but when we came back, everything just felt huge. Like the ceiling, there was no slopes. It was just like amazing. So whilst we were so glad to get away, we were very glad to be back home. I think for me as well, getting away was very necessary. I made a very deliberate choice not to vlog. And I was only taking pictures for the purposes of putting on my own personal Facebook show, my friends and family. It was my husband who obviously took the footage of me driving because, well, of course it was him, couldn't have possibly been me. So that I had something to put in here, but I didn't want to have to think about what I was going to film and having to get the footage off my phone, etc. And just having that break from posting. I had scheduled things to go out while I was away because algorithm, gotta feed the algorithm or your posts just get buried. So I had things go out, but it was really nice to have that time when just be present in the moment, because that is what we need more of in our lives, to be present and in the moment and not to spend all of our time doom scrolling and looking on Instagram. Since coming back, I've set some time limits on both Facebook and Instagram, because while I wouldn't classify myself as someone who starts looking on Instagram and is still there an hour later, it's never really been me. It doesn't engage me that much. Looking at the hours spent on my phone, I felt they were too high. So I have set time limits now for both of those platforms because they're the main ones that I use both for business and for personal social media as well. I have to say it's been pretty good. When the time limit is up and they kind of dull down the colors, it really is a visual cue, like I've spent enough time on this, I need to go do something else. I need to read a book, watch something, engage in something else other than just consuming this content constantly. Having that space between consuming content and creating content is really important for me. I need to be able to create more than I consume so that I can keep on top of my creativity. I find if I spend all my time consuming, it really does impact my ability personally to create content, whether that is writing my book, vlogging, creating other videos for YouTube. I kind of need to slow down my consumption, and then that drives up my content creation. This has inspired you to take a trip to Northumberland, whether that would be a domestic or international trip for you. Top tips: do not go to Northumberland if you cannot drive. The public transport is just non-existent. You will not be able to go anywhere that you want to go. You need to either drive or be with someone who drives, or you will not be able to capture and experience the true beauty of this county. Tip number 2, the time of year you go really matters. If you want to go to the Farne Islands, you need to go sort of April to October, and be prepared that during breeding season you may get dive bombed by a bird. That doesn't happen till a little later in the year, but that is a possibility. So think about your timing. This is not a place you really want to go out of season. It's very cold, very wet, not great. So I'd recommend maybe May. I would specifically recommend avoiding school holidays, which here in the UK is mid-July to end of August, because everywhere's packed. It's never great. Do not recommend. I think my other tip as well would be to have a look on cottages.com, which is where we found our accommodation. This is not in any way sponsored. No one is sponsoring someone with 9 subscribers, but that's who we used, and I personally recommend them. We found some fantastic accommodation on there. Airbnb gives me the ick. It's not something I would ever use. Cottages.com gives you similar types of accommodation, cottages, home away from home, but it's an actual company. They manage the properties themselves. Would highly recommend booking through them so that you can actually be out in the rural countryside rather than tucked away in Newcastle in a hotel. Get out there, get into the country. It's great. Final tip, I'd recommend flying. I'm biased. If you're someone that likes long drives and you're coming from, you know, the south of England or further away, yeah, you can absolutely drive. But for ease, and if you're able to take a domestic flight, so much quicker. But obviously this vastly depends on where you live and your budget. I think I've said everything I can say on that subject. I need to go and edit the video that I made earlier, which is the cozy fantasy book recommendations. So I will catch you in the next clip. Do you remember when I said earlier, what could possibly go wrong with making bread? Well, let me show you. What is this? What is going on here? So rye bread doesn't rise the way that normal bread does, that's fine. But what happened here? It's so bad. What is this? What is that? I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna at least try it and see what it's like, but nil point for the appearance of this bread.